29 seconds of a bunch of different logos. And this ain't no indie darling that needs a ton of help to finance the filmmaker's life's goal. This is an Adam Sandler vacation movie.
You want to catch a beer?
Catching a beer. Also, wow, look at how much Adam Sandler has gotten into his character. He looks nothing like his roles in Grown Ups, or Grown Ups 2, or Just Go With It, or Blended, or... Look, he has a mustache!
I don't get it, man. I know all the answers. I just freeze under pressure.
I guess we need to get some character development out of the way, but this is so ham-handedly shoved into the walk and talk in the first minute of the movie that it might as well have been exposited in a newspaper montage. Product placement via text message. How hard was it to fund this movie?
Eggplant and donut. Oh, he's the eggplant.
More like a finger-length potato.
Here's something that's always bothered me in movies. People do talk a lot of at hair salons and barbershops, and they can be hilarious in real life. Hell, Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall made it funny on film in Coming to America, but too many movie scenes are like this. Forced pithiness, rather than the actual casual conversation that's funnier, even though there are fewer zingers. I should expect this from this movie, but I'm so annoyed by it overall that I'm going to add 3 cents.
Tomorrow is our 15th wedding anniversary. I'm still waiting on that trip to Europe he promised me on our wedding day.
And I conveniently have the portrait he gave me to commemorate the promise displayed right here so everyone can see what a putz my husband is.
You have to tell men everything. If you want the dishes to not go in the sink, you have to tell them.
Jeez, we sure are plowing new ground in this movie, eh? This is like the content of a Tim Allen stand-up routine from 1984.
That's why they have those signs in the bathrooms at restaurants that tell employees to wash their hands. Those aren't for women, guys. Those are for men.
Then why are they in the women's restroom, too? Or is this lady exclusively peeing into urinals at public restaurants?
Let's go into 50.
Jesus, at this point, the only thing that would make Nick more of an unromantic asshole is if he eschewed the anniversary sex and asked Audrey to watch him jerk off while he binges old Love Island episodes. Married couple has lost its spark and is manifested by boring conversation during bathroom routine before bed cliche. Whatever this yellow shit is on the toothbrush, it's distracted me from this entire fucking movie. What the is that? Is it the design of the brush to have a nicotine-colored patch on the head? Or is this the residue of what lies in Adam Sandler's gums? God damn it, I hate this toothbrush more than I hated the entirety of Jack and Jill.
We're finally going to Europe. Happy anniversary.
What happened during this brief conversation that would overturn 15 years of this dickwad dodging the expense of a European vacation? Also, why would they have passports at the ready if they've never been out of the country before? This is like Grover going to the airport to impulsively head to Prague in order to surprise Jane at the end of Kicking and Screaming, only to realize he couldn't feasibly make it work because he didn't have the right documentation. What, too obscure of a reference? That movie f***ing rules. Just don't mistake it for the Will Ferrell soccer movie where Robert Duvall is an asshole. Anyway, what was I saying?
We can afford it, right?
We can afford it, of course.
She's just asking this now? I mean, even if she's just reassuring herself, why wait until you're boarding when there's nowhere to go?
I don't want to give it away. It was the butler. The butler did it.
It's never the butler.
Mary Roberts Reinhardt's The Door would very much like to have a word with you, Audrey. Stealing.
A fellow insomniac, I see.
This f***ing guy. Also, not only is Audrey able to sneak into first class because the flight attendant is pouring champagne, she's able to wander around with impunity for far longer than she should be. Also, how did Audrey not see this asshole sitting right in her line of vision on the way to the bar?
Unfortunately, sir, she'd need her own first-class ticket.
Charles Cavendish.
I'm so sorry, sir.
Okay, if Cavendish is this well-known by name, how did this flight attendant not know what he looks like, or that he was on this flight?
Malcolm Quince. Is your uncle that billionaire?
Ah, so she knows the old billionaire, but has no clue about the young, handsome, debonair one.
I'm English, Mrs. Spitz. I'm a glutton for social masochism.
That's racist. Why is Nick even looking for Audrey? There aren't a lot of places you can go on an airplane. Wouldn't he just assume she's in the bathroom?
Can I get a Labatt's, brother?
That'll be 17 euro.
Not only has this plane ride felt like it's taken the actual amount of time it would take to get to Europe, they're totally planing wrong. What f***ing first-class cabin is going to charge you any amount for booze, especially in the company of a billionaire bigwig?
I have a chef.
Maurice?
Maurice.
Some people call me Maurice. Remember that one?
It literally broke my brain when I discovered the person who wrote this dialogue also wrote the screenplay to the iconic and brilliant movie Zodiac. So, if you need me, I'll be sitting over here in a corner, rocking slowly and softly sobbing.
What are you doing?
Why would 2 adults come into a bathroom on an airplane?
A better question is how 2 adults would comfortably fit into an airplane bathroom. The only people that could actually join the Mile High Club on a commercial flight are gymnasts, acrobats, and those tiny buttholes from downsizing.
I've been working my ass off and saving money, and now you know why. It was to take us on this trip.
Are we seriously supposed to be rooting for this cocktit that's still lying his ass off right now? I feel more empathy for Adam Sandler's character in Uncut Gems. At best, there are 38 seats on that bus, and even if Nick and Audrey are the last 2 to arrive, there are already a good 25 people in line. And who knows how many are already on board. And where's the luggage going? And how the hell are they going to fit the 2 scooters for the old people? This is a tour bus of lies.
We've changed our minds. We're going to come.
Splendid!
Not only are they able to change their minds at the last minute and be accepted by Cavendish, he just happens to be waiting right next to the tour bus within easy earshot. Damn it, they drive on the wrong side of the road and the car doors even open the wrong way. F***ing Dutch assholes.
You're watching a real person.
For his lesser movies, Adam Sandler takes the tact of looking downward for 90% of his line delivery, in the hopes that people won't recognize him and he can just go back to the masseuse after the scene's over, for f***'s sake.
The man Susie would have left me for had he not been a screaming queen.
Ah, see, this movie treats LGBTQ characters with the same delicate nuance as I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
Will you please grab me the Claritin?
Yes. Yeah.
Baby, that's Allegra.
That he bought at least 2 or 3 days ago. How is Audrey just needing it now?
When we get to Monaco, I'll get you your Claritin.
This semantic medication argument goes on for some time.
She's the robot! And there's like guns coming out of your bra. Yes!
Sex Machina, my breakout role.
I don't usually do this, but I'll be goddamned if I let this movie take Ex Machina's name in vain without a synonym. Oh man, Sandler found a way to get his buddy Kevin James into yet another movie.
He barely got out of the academy because he couldn't even meet, like, his minimum marksmanship skills.
I know we're supposed to think Nick is a POS, but we're supposed to like Audrey, right? Because I'm not sure I like her, even just a little bit.
What?
Right, everybody's in tuxedos. I wish you...
I know Nick is an NYPD cop that has very little fashion sense, but he didn't even bring a f***ing suit to Europe? A blazer? Anything other than flip-flops? This is not even a case of closelessness. He was at least wearing a long-sleeve button-down shirt at dinner before they left. This is an oddly specific title card that really still gives us very little information about the actual location.
It warms my heart that you have made this trip here to celebrate my nuptials.
Speeches.
Suckling on the tit of my good work for so many years.
Oh, I just got it. This is a discount bargain bin version of Knives Out. There's always at least one, like when Tornado and Night of the Twisters came out in 1996 to cash in on the success of Twister. Yes, I know Murder Mystery was technically released first and probably had no knowledge about Knives Out at all, but you can't ignore the parallels, man.
And perhaps, after I've done you this kindness, you will finally be able to make something of yourselves.
You mean like a successful actress? Champion race car driver? Maharaja? All 3 of those things sound pretty impressive.
You could have signed this at home. Instead, you called us here to humiliate us?
Technically, Charles himself brought the Spitzes along to make a mockery of the proceedings, so throwing glass houses or something along those lines. Left-handers. Who stabs a motherfucker right through the sternum? That's nearly impossible, even for a strong person. I bet it hurts like a dick, but I don't see why he'd die immediately from this wound. This dramatic emptying of the crime scene room would be a lot more effective if I gave a flying f*** about anyone in this group.
I'm tired as hell right now. I'm gonna go to sleep.
Are you kidding me?
I'm with Audrey, not because they should be trying to solve a murder, but Nick is still aware that a murderer is aboard the ship. How do you sleep knowing that? Unless, of course, you're the murderer. And no, Nick isn't, but God, that would have been a much better movie.
When a wife gets killed, 90% of the time it was the husband.
Citation needed. Yo, one of the richest motherfuckers on the planet was murdered, and his direct heir is dead too. So you don't think Interpol would want to come check this out before they dock in Monaco? It's been several hours, man. Don't they have boats too? Even if it's a lie that he can't speak English, why would they not bring a Spanish interpreter to try and get Juan Carlos' statement?
I'm sorry. She's just excited because she reads books and this is fun for her.
Just want to point out that Audrey is excited about 2 brutal murders that took place around her. I feel like Adam Sandler was just tired of being the most despicable one out of the lead couple in his movies. Also, we're about to find out that the NYPD let the inspector in on the fact that Nick had failed his detective test 3 times. Why would the NYPD give that info to Interpol at the drop of a hat? At most, they would acknowledge that he was employed. But also, once they found out he was tied up in a murder investigation, even overseas, they would totally be working on getting him representation instead of leaving him out to dry.
Mark my words, Officer Spitz. I will not rest until I prove that you committed these murders.
Jesus, this asshole has such an arrest boner for the Spitzes, but I think if Nick leans in any closer, he's going to end up with a milk mustache.
This isn't one of your books, sweetheart.
Oh, did the movie mention that Audrey is obsessed with murder mystery books? I didn't notice, since I'm still wondering if Adam Sandler has a condition that prevents him from fully buttoning his f***ing shirts.
There's a real killer on the real loose.
Nick didn't seem really concerned about the real killer when he said he was really tired and wanted to go to sleep instead of showing any concern about the real murder.
Juan Carlos is your man.
One of the killers is revealed halfway through the movie, but it's halfway through the movie, so there's no way that one of the killers is actually one of the killers cliché.
We should test that for fingerprints first.
Okay, do you have the fingerprint testing kit?
No wonder that Nick hasn't passed the detective exam. He gives f*** all about collecting actual evidence. Instead of joking about fingerprinting, couldn't think of some way to try and identify who passed them this note? Hell, he says they're walking into a trap if they follow the directions. This entry into Sergei's room is about as suspenseful as the last episode of Paw Patrol I watched with my 4-year-old niece. Also, I know he's not detective material, but Nick is a veteran beat cop in New York City, man. Is this really how he's approached sketchy situations up until now?
Killer is...
What?
Victim says killer is and then dies cliche.
He flosses angrier than you!
Movie has 2 jokes about angry flossing. Huh, I guess this poor guy also got scratched by a flirkin back in the 90s. This is a less practical sex scene than the one in the pool from Showgirls, and who would have thought that would ever be topped?
Vic. What happened?
Premature Maharajaculation. Jesus f***ing Christ. As if this movie weren't already stuffed to the gills with cliches, here's a random news position report from a suddenly audible bar television. Also, how long could it possibly have been since they left the hotel? The police have already discovered Sergei's body and given info to the press?
You are a police officer?
No, he's a detective.
No, he's not.
They're calling him a police officer and not a detective in another country. So what? Why would Audrey even think to question this? Why would the inspector even be mentioning this in a news report?
Did you lie to me?
The only hope I have is that this protagonist's fight for no reason before the final act of the movie horse is that it means we're approaching the final act of the movie.
What do you think I've been doing this entire time?
This is what I do for a living, sweetheart. You're a goddamn hairdresser.
Why is Audrey upset about this? This is one of those few things that Nick is actually honest about. This is so sad that I sure hope they fire up Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah pretty soon. Or I guess I'd accept the Leonard Cohen cover. And get George Clooney on the line stat. I want to meet him for brunch and limoncello in the morning.
Hello?
Shouting in the library. This tour around the library takes so goddamn long that I'm half expecting Audrey to find a stack of books and mucus on the card catalog before screaming, "Get her!" This is a public library, right? Why is no one else here except the 2 of them and the shooter? Also, let's think about this. We find out Grace is doing the shooting here. Why is she in the library in the first place? How'd she know Cavendish was coming here? Charles was presumably here to meet Susie, but Susie then threatens the Spitzes with a gun on her own, solely to look suspicious, since there was no reason for her to be in the city and not the estate. So where was Charles even really going when he left Audrey in the car? If he's supposed to meet Susie, why'd he give up and divert to the Quince estate, where Grace later killed him? He wasn't there when Susie died, so there was no way for him to know he had to track down her killer. It really feels like this movie watched Game Night and said, we can do that, without giving one thought about how the characters get where they're supposed to be. I'm not saying Audrey and Nick couldn't push over the library shelves, but I am saying Audrey and Nick couldn't push over the library shelves.
You should have never come to Lake Como.
I'm assuming this is what the studio heads said to the cast after the budget ballooned over the last week of shooting. I have to say, I love the Italian way of life, where they don't even bat an eyelash when they see a deadly pursuit in progress right outside their place of business. Susie's been dying for what feels like 30 or 40 minutes now, but she couldn't squeeze out one f***ing word about who the killers were. Also, not for nothing, but she's terrible at charades. Probably deserved that poison dart to the throat. How incriminating is this video, really? Nick is holding a real gun, not a blow dart one.
This is big. This is a big house. This is what they call rich people.
But apparently not so rich that they'd want to put a gate at the end of this driveway. Dude, over half the motherfuckers that are supposed to be in Quince's will are dead within the last 24 hours. You don't think they'd delay the reading until everything calmed down a touch?
You stole the tux of Charlie's dead body.
And it fits perfectly.
I don't want to be too much of an asshole, but maybe the most unbelievable part of this movie is that Adam Sandler and Luke Evans are the exact same size. Nick has been talking nonstop about how much better shape Charles is in.
Malcolm Quince. He was the first to get murdered. We all assumed it was Toby.
No, we all assumed you did it.
Really? Because at the race the next day, both Grace and the Maharaja were accusing everyone not named Nick and Audrey.
It almost makes sense.
I'm sorry, it doesn't, especially since they put this together on the fly, with the help of several leaps of logic, some circumstantial gleaning, and a movie that desperately wants to get in at under 90 minutes of runtime. I think you mean to say it makes sins.
Fine. Dan Toby killed him, but he did it with a little help.
Lights!
My favorite denouements are always when the sleuths accidentally themselves into a solution. It's so much more interesting than smart people figuring things out.
You tried to kill us in the market, but you got Susie instead.
She tried to kill both of you with one dart?
My father was a monster.
I mean, sure, he was a dick to Superman in the initial sequel, but you have to understand he'd been caught in the Phantom Zone for years, and he really wanted to get back into the pillaging business.
Get an ambulance.
Yes, and do it quick, since this dickhead has no plans to even do basic first aid on this lady.
How did Juan Carlos understand my English just now?
F*** off. He's been responding to everyone's English throughout the movie, whether it makes sense or not. If anything, the Maharaja himself should be a suspect for even bringing this up, since he's the only one in all of this without a real alibi when Sergei was killed. Man, this hostile takeover sure didn't rouse any of the other police officers that are currently on site, did it?
A Ferrari! Testarossa! Magnum PI!
Come on, Nick. Anybody that would be this diehard of a Magnum PI fan would know that he drove a 308 GTSI. After Men in Black International, Murder Mystery became the second movie in 2019 to make us realize this joke would never be funny. Non-consensual gear grabbing. Really, just everything about this car chase. This guy just won the Monaco Grand Prix and he's chased down by these f***os that live in a city where you don't even drive. Pitting is a thing, but you don't hit the back bumper. If you're going to pit, you should pull up alongside the car and steer your car into their rear fender. And Nick, as a police officer, should know this.
An officer spits.
I go what?
It seems you are quite the detective after all.
European standards. So Interpol paid for their vacation and booked them on the Orient Express. If they've got that extra scratch hanging around, why can't they afford better personnel? Also, this feat is doubly impressive considering that it's been out of business for over a decade.
Who wants a mustache ride?
Alright, you can stop sending us concerned messages that CinemaSins stole our idea. CinemaSins is in fact our other channel where we sin, you guessed it, TV shows. Search for CinemaSins and find one of your favorite shows. Then, enjoy us sinning the shit out of it.
Where's your husband?
Dead.
God rest her soul. Oh, no, she's not dead. Yeah, we're just divorced.
I'm the club pro here, Chubbs Peterson.
What's that?
Well, is this a dagger I see before me?
Lex Luthor, ruler of Australia. Activate the machine.
I didn't do it!
I am an officer of the law.
I don't judge a man by the length of his hair or the kind of music he listens to, but you put on a pair of shoes when you walk into the New York Public Library.
Ah, Ricky Berry. Enchanté!
Where's the lamp? I left it out.
I love lamp.
Turn. On. Turn on. Turn on what? Turn on what? Turn on belt.
You killed them all, didn't you?